I'm talking today about something I see a lot of in couple dynamics, which is a dynamic of one person pursuing, like going towards, and one person needing space and withdrawing. So the whole thing kind of leans a bit this way. If you're familiar with attachment styles, then it's the dance between the one who wants proximity and has some anxiety about closeness, and the one who finds proximity overwhelming and sometimes called avoidant, but like who needs to take their space. This dynamic is super common, and neither of these strategies or positions are wrong or bad. They're just different, and people are often drawn to each other from the polarity of these two, because that's creates a homeostasis. It creates a pair dynamic that works, because if both people were pulling away, there's not a lot of energy, and if both people were really going towards, it could be a bit claustrophobic. And that's what we work with in couples therapy a lot, because there are things we can do to support each other. If you're in a couple relationship and this dynamic is present, you can really help each other with some very simple things. So what do we do in the therapy to work with this dynamic? Well, one of the first things we do is we unpack it. I'm doing this with my finger because I use a diagram all the time from emotionally focused therapy from Sue Johnson, called the infinity loop, where we look at both sides of the partnership, and we look at the unconscious, underlying, more vulnerable feelings that may be driving behaviours on the surface that are a bit reactive. And we look at childhood, sometimes we look at childhood experiences and why, because the withdrawal may be through fear of not being good enough, often is, or shame. And the pursuing is through the finding it hard to trust. And so we look to understand each other, because when you understand each other, you can have more compassion and empathy for what's happening. And then we're looking for solo regulation skills, self-soothing, nervous regulation work that you do by yourself. Because if you're the one who pulls away, then you need some strategies to soothe yourself in order to be able to come back to relating. And if you're the one who's kind of can't let go, who's clinging or chasing, won't let an argument drop, then you need the skills to be able to come back to your centre and find your ground in order to be able to show up with your partner in a more regulated way, and not require them to do to regulate you for you, but that you can regulate yourself and come back to the relationship. I'm not saying that you need to do that every single time, when we can help each other co-regulate, but it mustn't be the only way that we have for bringing regulation into the system. And then the third thing that we're working with is generosity. It's how do we find the generosity to forgive ourselves when we don't live up to our own hopes and ideals? How do we find the generosity to forgive the other when they aren't able to do what they said they going to try and do when it comes to these regulations? And just a caveat, of course, when I'm talking in these videos, I'm never talking about situations where there's abuse or coercive control. But in most relationships, that's not what's happening. It's just there's some low-level conflict or challenge. If you can't do couples therapy, maybe you're both, your schedule is so busy that you're just not able to commit to a regular fortnightly session. Then I do intensives. And the intensives are brilliant because we can actually work at really practical level together. What strategies do you each need? What's your plan that you're leaving with, so that you can get beyond this push-pull dynamic, this pursue withdraw dynamic.